All right. Well, good morning, and thank you all for joining our first ever Zoom press conference. My name is Michele Hanisee. I am the president of the Association of Deputy District Attorneys, which is the certified bargaining unit and professional organization for all Los Angeles County District Attorneys. The Association of District Attorneys has endorsed Jackie Lacey for Los Angeles County District Attorney, but today we wanted you to hear from frontline prosecutors and crime victims who will discuss why they support Jackie Lacey. So I will describe our speakers for you and the format. Our first speaker will be Deputy District Attorney John Mckinney. John is a career prosecutor who spent nearly 2 decades trying primarily complex murder cases. You'll also be hearing from victim advocate Luanda Hawkins, who's president of Justice for Murdered Children. Justice for Murdered Children was founded in 1996 by Luanda when her only child, Reggie, was murdered in what is still an unsolved case. Luanda will tell you the story of her experiences with Jackie Lacey and how Miss Lacey has helped bring justice to so many victims' families. You'll also be hearing from William Shannon, who's the grandfather of 5-year-old Aaron Shannon Jr., who was murdered by gang members 10 years ago this Halloween, as Aaron Jr. was playing in his Spider-Man costume in front of his home. You're also going to be hearing from Nancy Aguilar. Her son, Jesse Leal Aguilar, a 24-year-old Iraq war veteran, was found dead in his car after having been beaten, shot, bound, and set on fire. For our Spanish-speaking community, you will also hear from Deputy District Attorney Maria Ramirez, who is also a career prosecutor and who has risen through the ranks to become a key member of Jackie Lacey's administration. Each of these speakers will explain why they support Jackie Lacey for DA. And after the speakers, if you will please raise your hand or type in the group chat, we can call on you and unmute you for any questions. So thank you all for attending. And without further, I would like to introduce you to John Mckinney. You need to unmute, John.
All right. Good morning, everyone. And thank you all for being here. I am John Mckinney. I've been a deputy district attorney since 1998. I've served under 3 different district attorneys of Los Angeles County. And I wanted to share a few thoughts with you today about Jackie Lacey.
John, I'm gonna stop you for 1 minute and make sure that we have you your screen up. I'm seeing Mr. Shannon, so if Eric Rose could please make sure that we can see Mr. Mckinney while he's speaking. There we go. Thank you. I apologize for interrupting you, John. Please start over.
Oh, no problem. Again, thank you everyone for being here. My name is John Mckinney. I've been a deputy district attorney since 1998. I've served under 3 different district attorneys of Los Angeles County. I'm currently assigned to the Major Crimes Division, which handles cases of extraordinary public interest. I wanted to share a few thoughts with you today about why I support Jackie Lacey. As a person, I support her because she is a woman of great character, integrity, and honesty. She has compassion not only for crime victims, but also for defendants who come before us charged with crimes. She has a great deal of empathy for crime victims. And I know this firsthand because I've handled cases where the victims have been as famous as Ramirez, known to the world as Nipsey Hussle, and Shannon G, a USC engineering student who was beaten to death on our streets. And names of victims that did not make headlines, but whose cases were treated every bit as seriously as the ones that did. In the case of Shannon G, his family are Chinese nationals. They live in China. And they were in China when they received the terrible news of the death of their son. Jackie, at their request, took time out of her schedule to meet with them via Zoom, the same way that we are meeting here today. I think it was the first time ever in the history of the DA's office that was done. And she listened compassionately to the parents explained who their son was and how much he meant to them. We all sat around the table with them via Zoom and watched a slideshow that they put together about their son, because they wanted us to understand who he was and how much he meant to them. And it's one thing for me as the trial attorney to participate in something like that. That's my job. It's another thing when you have the chief prosecuting officer for the county of Los Angeles take time to do it. It sends the right message. It lets people know that she cares about them, whether they're in front of her or whether they're half a world away. I support Jackie because she grew up in this community and she knows the community and has insight into the community in a way that you can only have if you spent many, many years on the streets, in the coffee shops, in the beauty parlors, talking to people, getting to know people, seeing firsthand how people treat each other, and seeing firsthand how police treat the community. She has that insight, and she has been shaped by that experience. And I see her utilizing that experience in the fair way that she conducts her office every day. So I'm proud to be here. I'm proud to support her. I have a lot of things to say about her, but I know that we have other illustrious speakers, and the focus today is on victims. And so I just wanted to share a few thoughts with you about how seriously and how committed she is to the experience of victims and witnesses too. And that's not to say that she isn't also very concerned about the people who come before us charged with crimes and the families standing behind them as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John. Our next speaker will be Luanda Hawkins. If you could please put Luanda in the primary screen.
Good morning.
There you are. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. Good morning. I'm going to use some of the words of former Congressman John Lewis and remind us our vote is the most powerful nonviolent tool we have. That's why I support Jackie Lacy. She's getting my vote. The LA County District Attorney Office is better than ever because the person at the top reflects the diverse range of backgrounds and experience of LA County. Jackie is the first woman and the first African-American to serve as LA County's district attorney since the office was open. That's history. That's major. And for our community, for minorities in LA County, that's huge. Jackie is the only candidate that is running that has tried the case and prosecuted cases herself personally. Jackie is honest, and a practical approach sets her apart from the other candidate. Also, Jackie is a mama like me. Jackie attended Dorsey High School, just like my husband, and graduated from there too. That's in the inner city. Jackie's father was a victim of gun violence, just like my son, who was murdered. This year, we have had an increase in violent crimes. We have had over 475 murders here in LA, per the LA Times. The majority of those murders happened in South Central Los Angeles and happened to people that look like me every day. Jackie has a proven record of success. Where's George's? I'm not here to badger anybody, but as a victim of a crime, as a mama of a child being murdered, I need Jackie. Jackie's top priority is keeping the streets of LA County safe from violent and dangerous crimes. Well, since 2020, we have had a tremendous increase in violent crimes. We need someone who's going to stand up for victims and say this is not acceptable and is going to prosecute those who victimize us. We can no longer allow people to come in our community and do us wrong and have a system that's going to back them up behind that behavior. As minorities, we need a district attorney that looks like us and stands up for people like us. We can't turn our back. We can't roll back. We have to move ahead. Her record speaks for herself. Let me explain to you where I met Jackie at. Now, this is when he talked about at a coffee shop. Never have I met anyone like Jackie, who serves the community so tirelessly. I met Jackie years ago. She was a deputy district attorney on Saturday at Lucy Florence Coffee House in LeBert Park. She's down there talking and listening, like he said. Jackie, over the years, has shown great concern for the crime victims of LA County. Her willingness to listen to crime victims' problems is commendable. The LA County District Attorney and LA County Bureau of Victim Service Advocates are the best in the state. They go beyond the call of duty to assist families of murder victims. Jackie has always had crime victims and the rights at the top of the list. As the LA County District Attorney, she has fought to make sure crime victims are protected and upheld. Are you all aware that she holds a crime victims ceremony every year in April for crime victims? I can't say enough about her. If you're contemplating about who to vote on November the 3rd for LA County District, I'm going to encourage you to recognize the importance of seeking out and supporting a candidate like Jackie, who has experience, support crimes victims, and public safety is the top of their list, and that is Jackie. She deserves every vote. So on November the 3rd, I strongly encourage you to vote for her too. Her strength and your vote will make LA County District Office a force to be reckoned with. That's from a mama who's a murdered child.
Thank you so much, Luanda. Thank you for your time. Our next speaker is going to be Mr. William Shannon. If we could please have Mr. William Shannon on the primary screen, Mr. Rose. Mr. Shannon, if you'd please unmute yourself. Or perhaps Mr. Rose can help you.
There we go.
There you go. Go ahead. Thank you. You're unmuted, Mr. Shannon. Please give us your remarks.
Well, first of all, I want to say good morning and welcome everyone. My family and I, we were involved in a situation where my grandson was murdered in 2010 on Halloween. I just brought his costume, which was a costume. He wanted to be Spider-Man. He was a big fan of Spider-Man, but in the moments following him putting on his costume, two young men proceeded to shoot in the backyard where we had gathered, my two sons, my grandson, and they did open fire without warning, for no reason. They were not known to any of us, but moving to fast forward a little bit, there was a more than one trial. There were 3 trials, and the first trial was a hung jury, 9-3. The second trial was a hung jury, 10-2. My understanding was always that a person could only be tried twice, and after that, there could not be a third trial. But I learned that the district attorney, Jackie Lacy, was persistent in seeking justice for my grandson, for my entire family. And we are all so grateful for her. And I speak not only for myself, but for all the victims and their families of murdered children. I do support her. I will always support her and encourage everyone else to strongly consider casting a vote for Jackie Lacy. She does stand for justice, in my opinion, fairness. While I've already cast my vote, that was the first name I looked for on the ballot, despite some of the more other candidates for other positions. I made sure she was the first box that I checked, and I am hoping that everyone else will join me in supporting Jackie Lacy and her candidacy to be reelected as attorney for LA County. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shannon, for sharing your story with us. We do appreciate it. Thank you. The next speaker is going to be Miss Nancy Aguilar. Mr. Rose, could we please have Miss Aguilar on the main screen? There we go. Nancy, thank you for joining us. Please tell us your story, Nancy.
Thank you for having me. I am honored to be here. My story is my son was murdered on October 26, 2006. It was cold for 12 years. We had a persistent detective who never gave up. He's my angel, Detective Ray Lugo. Under Jackie Lacey's district attorney's office, our DA was Ken Von Helmet, and he was exceptionally well. We saw the victim's rights were below the criminal rights, as our killer refused to leave his cell every morning for the whole 3-year procedure. We had to wait from 8 o'clock in the morning until after the lunch break for every procedure, from prelim, everywhere, because our killer refused to leave his cell, and he had that right to. Their hands are tied. The DA's offices are tied. I mean, it was honestly, in my opinion, Jackie Lacey's crew would be, all the DAs there would be the ones to hold strongest and uphold the laws for the victims. I can't see anyone lenient coming in, especially someone from San Francisco, and we need the strength. We need it was just really horrible going through what we did, and our DA's hands were tied because of all of this nonsense of the rights. We need to pursue the victims' rights instead of the criminals, and I believe that she's trying her darndest, as the police and sheriffs are doing all theirs too. Voting for Jackie Lacey would be a blessing for the city, county of LA, and that's all I could say. And my son wasn't shot. The media portrayed that because I guess it was a ploy. He was actually tortured and burned alive in his car. And we lost the conviction of the torture issue because the coroner forgot to take 2 of the 3 tests needed for that. We had, there was a big old mess. But anyways, Jackie Lacey is the person to vote for because we need the strength in LA County. And I hope that I contributed a little bit. I really pray for her. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nancy. Thank you for sharing your story with us. We truly appreciate your time, and you have our condolences from all of us. Thank you. Our last speaker, if we could have Maria Ramirez up on the screen. As I said, Maria Ramirez is a career prosecutor and a member of Jackie's administration, and she will be addressing our Spanish-speaking audience. So thank you for joining us, Maria. Oops, and you're muted, so unmute.
All right, I practiced that. Thank you for having me, everyone. And I would like to speak particularly to our Spanish-speaking community. Buenos días a todos. Quiero animar a todos que voten por Jackie Lacey para fiscal del distrito. Ella es la mujer adecuada en el momento adecuado para este trabajo. Como muchos de ustedes, yo crecí en un vecindario plagado de violencia, de pandillas y crimen. Sé lo importante que es para cada uno de ustedes vivir y prosperar en comunidades seguras. Jackie Lacey creció en el distrito Crenshaw de Los Ángeles y ha pasado 30 años en la oficina del fiscal luchando por la justicia. Ella se preocupa por nuestras comunidades y por mantener a nuestras familias a salvo de convertirse en víctimas del crimen. El oponente de Jackie, George Gascon, no da importancia a las víctimas del crimen. De hecho, se preocupa más por los delincuentes que cometen los delitos. Su prioridad es mantener a los criminales peligrosos en nuestros vecindarios y no responsabilizarlos por sus crímenes. Quiere sacar a los delincuentes de las cárceles sin tener un plan concreto para proporcionarles trabajo, vivienda y otra asistencia. Esto es peligroso. Aunque Jackie da prioridad a la seguridad pública, Jackie también comprende la necesidad de ayudar a quienes se vuelven delictivos debido a la adicción a las drogas, las enfermedades mentales y la pobreza. Jackie ha defendido muchos cambios en el sistema de justicia penal para ayudar a esas personas para que no sigan cometiendo delitos. Por ejemplo, ella estableció la primera división de salud mental de su tipo para ayudar a las personas con enfermedades mentales a recibir la ayuda que necesitan. También quiero que sepan que Jackie Lacy se preocupa particularmente por nuestra comunidad de inmigrantes. Por ejemplo, Jackie creó una unidad para investigar y procesar el fraude de notario, un delito que afecta especialmente a nuestros residentes de habla hispana. Además, recientemente patrocinó una legislación para permitir que la oficina del fiscal del distrito accede a los archivos de casos de menores para poder completar los formularios de certificación de U-Visa y Visa T para víctimas de delitos juveniles. Finalmente, Jackie es el único candidato que tiene la experiencia real para liderar la agencia más grande del país. Su oponente nunca ha entrado a una sala de audiencias como fiscal y no comprende la búsqueda de justicia donde las víctimas de delitos son lo primero. Jackie pone a las víctimas primero y se preocupa por la seguridad de nuestras comunidades. Por favor, voten por ella. Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much, Maria. Thank you. That concludes our speakers. So if any members of the media have questions, please raise your hand, or you can type a question into the chat area.
You're muted, Michelle.
I did it. We all did it once. I said, thank you very much, Maria, for your presentation. And now we have concluded with our speakers and we can take questions from the media. So if you would please either raise your hand using the raise hand button or type a message in the chat box and let us know which speaker you're addressing your question to, and we can get them up on screen to answer your question. And if we could have Luanda up, please. I know that there's a question for Luanda while everyone else is figuring out how to raise their hand.
Yep. And I'll unmute everyone right now, Michelle.
Perfect.
And most people have to unmute themselves as well. Okay. Whoever has the first question, go ahead, Michelle.
Yeah, can we have Luanda up?
Luanda.
Here.
You want me to spotlight her, Michelle? Is that what you want me to do?
Yes, please, please.
Okay.
Thank you. Luanda, this is a question for you. A lot of really well-meaning people in neighborhoods that aren't as affected by violent crime are seeing reports in the media about BLM and others calling for defunding the police and other policies that seem to take the rights of criminals over crime victims. Can you speak to those potential voters and explain if this is an opinion or sentiment held among your friends and neighbors in your communities?
No, because in my community, we want safe communities. We're tired of the gunshots, hearing the gunshots all day and night. We want safe communities. We want law enforcement. We want people to be tough on crime. Maybe they can help. When we had this year alone, I believe there was 3 kids murdered under the age of 5, 4 kids murdered under the age of 11. We can't afford that. 478 people have been murdered. We're only at the 10th month. That's 47 people a month. That's a lot of lives. And these people were killed by people that practically look like them in their community. And we don't hear anything about, no one coming down there saying anything about that. So to me, that is a serious issue. When you're scared to go outside, that you may be a victim of this crime called murder, or maybe a victim just of gun violence, just for going outside. And it's happening in our community, in minority communities. This is where it's going. So who do we supposed to call when this happens? Ghostbusters? Yeah, no, we calling 911. We're expecting law enforcement to come in And we're expecting the district attorney to prosecute those who come in our community and victimize us. We don't expect no one to give them a pass and telling them that they don't believe in jails or prison and that they're setting term limits already on how much time you'll get for certain crimes. No, without even hearing the case, you can't do that with crime in our community. That's unfair. And it seems so unfair that they're going to allow it to happen to people like me. Yeah, they're not going to do it in other communities, taking law enforcement away, especially when you have crime that has increased. In 2020, the violent crime and gun violence has increased, unfortunately.
All right. Thank you very much for answering that question, Luanda. Eric, do we have any other raised hands?
I'm not seeing any. Was there a question from Spectrum News or from Channel 7? If so, you'll have to unmute yourself. Or CBS Channel 2, was there a question? If so, please unmute yourself.
All right, well, I don't see any questions popping up with the most successful press conference in the world since we've answered everybody's questions. So thank you all so much for joining us. I want to personally thank all the speakers for taking time out of their day to tell their stories. So thank you all and have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you, Luanda.
Thank you, everyone.
Vote for Jackie.